everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to run you through how to do the transfer box output seal on a Mitsubishi Shogun Pajero. God, that's a mouthful. Anyway, really simple job, guys. I'm going to run you through it. I'm going to put everything I use down in the description in the comments, and I'm also going to run through how to do an oil change in the transfer box while I'm at it. So yeah, let's take a look.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.
Right then, guys, so as you can see, if we look at the transmission and transfer box, you'll see this weight hanging over the back. Now if you look at the weight, it's completely covered in oil, and also there's driplets hanging down under it, and you can see it's coming from the output on the rear side of the transfer box. Now I know there is a seal on the front side for the front prop shaft, but obviously it's the rear one that's gone in this case. So now what we're going to do is remove the rear bolts to remove the shaft away. It's just like a prop shaft mounting flange here that mounts to the diff. You'll have to take two out at a time and turn the wheel to obviously get to all the bolts, but get them out. And then what you can do is remove the flange and drop the prop shaft down, or drive shaft, whatever you'd like to call it. Now you don't need to disconnect it on the gearbox side, it just pulls out. So what we're going to do is put a drain tray under it, because you will lose a bit of oil, and we're going to pull the shaft out of the back of the gearbox. As you can see there, it comes out as a complete yoke and shaft. Now if we look up in there, you can see that oil I was telling you about running out from the end of the shaft, and you can see our seal. Now this is the seal that's causing our problem. As you can see, that little tin is all covered in oil, so it's got to be replaced. So what we're going to do now is take a long thick screwdriver, and I'm going to pry the seal off the center shaft and give the screwdriver a good twist and pop the seal out. Now it's not that tight, guys, it's just in a little bit of an awkward place, so just give it a good twist with your screwdriver. Try it in a couple of different places and it will pop out quite easily. Sorry about my hands getting in the way here, guys, but there wasn't much room under this vehicle to get in here, so this is about as good as it got. So there it is, popped out. So there's the old seal. Obviously I have damaged the seal getting it out with a screwdriver, but as long as you don't touch the housing, you're fine. As you can see, the little bit of damage there. Now you can see my seal has gone nice and hard. You can see it spread. The new one's nice and tight, and the new seal was nice and rubbery and flexible, where the old one had just gone all stiff and tight. So it just goes a bit brittle, it does, which causes it to leak. So I'm just going to give it a wipe now, just to wipe off any excess oil and any dirt that might have got into the surface area where the seal's going to go. And I'm just going to push the seal into place by hand. Now, believe it or not, you can actually push these seals probably halfway in by hand. I know I did, so get it started by hand before you start tapping it. So I'm going to use a brass punch. Now the only reason I'm using a brass punch is obviously just in case I hit the center shaft. I don't want to damage the splines, but if you're really careful and you've only got a metal drift, then that'll be fine. Any sort of punch or drift. Now this seal does hit flat. I did find there was a little bit of a raised edge from the seal to the aluminium housing, but just keep on tapping it until it goes flat, and that's about it. Just make sure you work yourself all around the outside and make sure it's flush all the way around and not just in one or two spaces. Otherwise, if your seal's not straight, it will go again very quickly. And there it is, nice and flush. I'll just get my fingers up in there with a rag now and just make sure it's all nice and flat, and rub my finger around it just to make sure it's all nice and even, and give it a wipe off. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take some cleaner. Now I only had electrical cleaner handy, and to be honest it wasn't the best tin, but any sort of degreaser or cleaning product you can use. Obviously you wouldn't want to pressure wash or use any water, because if anything gets inside that transfer box it's going to obviously cause you problems. So I just want to wipe off all the excess oil so that obviously we can take it for a road test after, and then we can see, just to make sure that the seal obviously has repaired the fault. So I always give them a good wipe over with a rag and some brake clean. Like I say, I only had I only had electrical cleaner handy to me at this time, so I used that, but any sort of degreaser or, you know, cleaning spirit will be fine. And then a nice clean rag to give it a once wipe over. Once I've given it a wipe over with the cleaner, and then we're ready to start putting the shaft back in. And there we go. So what we're going to do now is just slot the shaft back into place. So obviously make sure you line the center of the shaft up with the center of the the transfer box, and just line the spline and then slide it in. And then we can go and lift the flange on the rear onto the rear diff, back up into place and locate it. And there we go. So now the last thing I wanted to show you is obviously I replaced the oil after doing this job. Now I did find the oil was in really bad state, so I would advise replacing your oil if you do this job. So I'm just taking the level plug out here now, and as you can see just before then I cracked off the drain plug. So we're going to undo the level plug. I always take the level plug out first just to let the air in there so that obviously it can drain a bit quicker, and then remove the drain plug. And there we are. So we'll just take the drain plug out now. I have got an oil catcher just underneath it to catch the oil. And as you can probably see in the video, my oil is not very good. It's quite milky and horrible, and also there was only about 1.5 liters, and this transfer box holds about, I think it's about 2.3 liters to 2.5 liters. So yeah. Now I give obviously the drain bung a good wipe off. Now obviously I did skip a bit on this video. I did leave it a good 45 minutes to an hour to drain, and then before I refitted the plug. Obviously give it plenty of time for it all to run out. And then we'll tighten the drain plug back in, just a 24mm spanner. Both these bungs are a good nip. It's only an aluminium housing, so it's just a good nip. So yeah, here's my oil. So this is obviously 75/90. Now obviously it's a bit awkward to get it up into place to squeeze it, so I use a big sucker or giant syringe or whatever you'd like to call it, and I'm just gonna suck oil up into this pump and then pump it into the gearbox. Now it is a bit of a slow process. It only holds about 300ml, so obviously it takes about three and a bit per bottle per liter, but I find this is probably the easiest way of doing it without making a mess. And here we are. So don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch me pump all these in. I just I sped it up a little bit and only showed you a couple. Now with the level, what you got to do, you got to make sure the vehicle is on level ground, and what you want is a nice trickle of oil to be coming back out of the filler plug. They say it should be to the same level as the filler plug, but I like to think that if there's a little bit trickling out, then you know that you've definitely got enough in there. If you wanted to check your level, just take the bung out and just stick your finger in there, and then obviously if you can touch oil, you know you're fine. And there it is. So we got a nice little trickle of oil coming back out of the hole. So I'm going to stick my bung in. It took about 2.4 liters and it was full. And there we are. And we nip that up. So yeah, so just a word of warning, or obviously we haven't replaced the transmission oil, so I just wanted to make that a note. This is obviously the transfer box, which is on the back of the gearbox. The transmission oil is a separate oil. It is the same oil, but it's in a separate compartment, and you need to check that separately. So yeah, I just thought I'd make that very clear just before I wrap this video up. So yeah, thanks for watching.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.